Flocks of Rohingyas were seen in a protest on 12 November at a makeshift camp of Cox's Bazar in denial to their forceful repatriation, which will be starting from mid-November. More than 100 Rohingyas were out in the streets of Zadimura, Shalbagan, D5 camp to a protest in denial of returning to Arakan, Burma. Since the beginning of this forceful repatriation, Rohingyas have rejected this deal repeatedly and demanded for justice, international protection and UN peacekeeping force in their repatriation. In the protest today, Rohingya women, children and men were seen to chant by saying, "We will not return, we will not go back." When asked about the protest, a man said, "We know Burma, Bangladesh did this planning from earlier by taking our data through the smart cards. And since that time, they kept torturing the Rohingyas to accept those. We will not go back until all our demands are fulfilled. While sheltering at Bangladesh, then only we will return," explains another Rohingya from the protest. According to their demands, all Molg Rakhine villages built on Rohingya property must be erupted and given back to original owners. Rohingyas from internally displaced people's camp IDPs must be returned to their original land and their homes must be rebuilt. Burma must give back Rohingyas citizenship by ensuring their native status. To halt this forceful repatriation, Rohingya from all age groups requested and pleaded to United Nations and international community to pressurize Burma and ensure them justice and their deserved human rights before any talk of actual repatriation. An area supervisor and another common Rohingya were physically assaulted by the camp in charge CIC officers at a makeshift camp of Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, in two separate incidences on 11 November 2018. A Rohingya area in charge of Block B in Camp number 21, Chak Markul, was physically tortured by beatings and stepping on his throat by Bangladeshi camp in charge officers of that area when he failed to list the names of the Rohingyas for the upcoming forceful repatriation. The victim was identified as Ataullah and he said the officers beat him with a heavy object and later stepped on his throat and tried to suffocate him. "The CIC officers tortured me, as you can see, all over my body. Those officers not only tortures Rohingyas, but they are also corrupted," says Ataullah in his testimonial video. On the same day, another common Rohingya from the same area was also heavily beaten by the camp in charge officers when the victim went to withdraw his family's name from the list of repatriation, which was deceived and taken earlier from his wife by using the name of ration list. The victim is named to be Noor Muhammad, who had a recent surgery on his body. Now he is in critical health condition and was heard to be hospitalized. Earlier, he was away from his home for work when his wife was deceived by the officers to take their names. In doing so, they said that they are taking names for the purpose of ration distribution. Since the announcement of Burma-Bangladesh forced repatriation, which is likely to commence off after 2 days, have created an alarming situation in the camps, where stories of abuse, torture and force are emerging from the camps to forcefully return the Rohingyas back in the genocidal operation. Following that, Rohingya in different camps was seen in multiple demonstrations in rejection to this repatriation, and they denounced that they will not go back at any cost with fulfilling their deserved demands while they are on the soil of Bangladesh. Rohingya refugees are fleeing the camps in Bangladesh and some have gone into hiding out of fear of being sent back to Burma this week. Repatriation of the Rohingya is scheduled to begin on Thursday, but it is proving controversial with the first batch of 4,000 approved refugees put on a list for return without their consent, and most, if not all, have said they do not want to go back to Burma under current conditions. The authorities repeatedly tried to motivate the ones on the returning refugee list to go back, but instead they were intimidated and fled to another camp, said Nur Islam from Jamtoli refugee camp. The account was echoed by a crisis group who said that interviews with those in the camps indicate that some of the refugees on the list for return have gone into hiding out of fear of being repatriated. Previously, 2 Rohingyas attempted to suicide after finding out they had been listed for return. Over 800,000 Rohingyas have crossed over the border from Arakan state to Bangladesh since August 2017, fleeing a violent genocidal operations by the military and the Buddhist locals, which saw their villages razed to the ground, women raped, and thousands killed. The restrictive conditions and violence against the Muslim minority, described by the UN as ethnic cleansing, has continued since, with the head of the UN fact-finding mission to Myanmar recently stating that the genocide in Rakhine is ongoing. UNHCR have said it will not be facilitating the repatriations. In a statement on Monday, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees said that before the Rohingyas agreed to return, they should be allowed to make go-and-see visit to Rakhine. Indeed, it appears that those Rohingyas returning to Arakan will not have free movement and will live under the same repressive restrictions as before the military crackdown last year. Win Myat Ai, Myanmar's Minister for Social Welfare, Relief and Resettlement, said the returning Rohingyas will be restricted only to the Maung Daung township. He said refugees who return to Myanmar will be taken to Hla Po Kaung camp, where they will spend one night and return to homes in Maung Daung. Houses are being built for the homeless, said the minister. Returnees with no homes will be settled in temporary residences located in areas nearest to their original homes. They will be allowed to participate in rebuilding their homes, and they will be paid for their labor. If they choose the government program, they will be allowed to stay at Hla Po Kaung camp till their homes are completed. Bangladesh has built 2 centers in Cox's Bazar where it will begin processing the Rohingyas vetted as ready for return in batches of 150 people per day. On Monday, Bangladesh Refugee Commissioner Muhammad Abul Kalam said they were ready to begin repatriations on Thursday, but UNHCR, who have been asked to verify everyone on the list to determine their willingness to return, said there will be still logistical difficulties. While the Bangladesh authorities have insisted that all returns will be voluntary, there is evidence that the refugees on the list are being tortured and pressured by the visits from Bangladesh camp officials, who have told them they have to go back. Muhammad Ismail, 50, who lives in Jamtoli refugee camp with his wife and 6 children, was among those notified last week by her Rohingya camp leader that his whole family were on the list to be sent back on Thursday. I told them I was too scared to return to Burma in the current situation because it is still very unsafe for all Rohingyas, but they said there was no way to escape and we would have to return within a few days, he told The Guardian. He added, I am very scared if Bangladeshi police will force us to cross the border. If they try to force us to go back, I think I have to commit suicide. It's better to commit suicide than going back to Burma without a guarantee of safety.